Hi, welcome to Dig Into China. I'm Dong Shang. Thank you for tuning in. Your support means the world and plays a crucial role in the YouTube algorithm. Liking, sharing, and subscribing not only show your support, but also help YouTube recommend my videos to a broader audience. Thank you very much. My video released on April 5th delves into the ongoing discussion about how much further China's housing prices might decline. In that video, I mentioned the bold statement made earlier in the year by Huang Qifan, the former mayor of Chongqing. He suggested that if housing price were to drop by another 30%, local governments would intervene by purchasing properties. Recent developments seem to validate his foresight, as more than 30 cities across the country have launched initiatives to swap older properties for new ones. Under these schemes, local governments buy back old houses, offering residents housing vouchers to purchase new ones, while repurposing the old properties for affordable housing or rentals. Does this strategy serve as a safety net for stabilizing housing prices? And for us, ordinary citizens participating in this exchange, are there any unseen risks? In this video, let's delve into the dynamics of the real estate market's exchange program for older properties and explore any potential implications. A similar strategy was actually rolled out in Zibo, Shandong province last year and subsequently adopted by many other cities. However, back then, the government didn't directly participate. Instead, individuals could reserve a new property upfront, and real estate companies, through cooperating agents, would assist in selling their old homes. They'd put in considerable effort to sell, but if the old property remained unsold within a set time frame, individuals could cancel the reservation for the new property and receive a refund of their deposit. This approach heavily relied on market dynamics. If housing prices continue to decline, even the most diligent efforts might not ensure a swift sale of the old property. Moreover, developers were cautious about selling properties only to potentially refund the deposits later, so they were hesitant to include prime properties in such initiatives. Additionally, in smaller cities with limited purchasing power, the effectiveness of this exchange program was even more constrained. Consequently, this initial iteration of the exchange program failed to generate significant traction. This year, the real estate exchange program has undergone a significant upgrade to version 2.0. In this new iteration, the traditional role of real estate intermediaries has been replaced, with local governments taking a more central role. Under this arrangement, your property is directly acquired by the local government at a predetermined valuation. In return, you are issued a housing voucher, which you can use to purchase a property from a list of approved developments provided by the local governments. Meanwhile, your old property is repurposed by the local government for rent or affordable housing, effectively becoming a fixed asset for the government. For real estate developers, the properties they sell are ultimately converted into a stack of housing vouchers, which they can then exchange with the local government for cash. Here, a few points demand our careful consideration. Firstly, the crucial question is at what price the local government acquires your property. For example, in specific transaction cases observed in Hai'an, Jiangsu province, the local government purchases houses at market appraisal prices, which is relatively favorable. If local governments can offer a reasonably fair price for second-hand homes, it's likely that some people would be receptive to this policy. However, there is also the possibility that certain local governments might offer an appraisal price lower than the market value when purchasing properties. Therefore, this presents the first risk to consider. The second risk to be mindful of is the possibility of individuals purchasing new homes with their housing vouchers at inflated prices. The selection of properties available for purchase with these vouchers is restricted to developments designated by the local government. Moreover, as these vouchers cannot be converted into cash and can only be used for buying homes, there is a chance that the developers might exploit this situation by raising prices and selling properties at inflated rates. Here, it's essential to understand the perspective of developers. Although developers receive housing vouchers, the process of converting these vouchers into cash is typically agreed upon with the local government, often involving a redemption schedule, such as cashing out every 3 months. This arrangement increases financial costs for developers, as they may need to wait for funds even after selling the property. Additionally, in cases where local governments face financial challenges, there might be delays or even discounts on voucher redemption. Consequently, developers may raise property prices to offset these added costs. For ordinary citizens, this could mean realizing that the property they've purchased is overpriced, leading to a feeling of being exploited. Hence, this constitutes the second risk. Finally, there is the third risk. What if the newly purchased homes turn out to be unfinished or abandoned? This risk seems relatively low because developers receive housing vouchers as payment, and the redemption of these vouchers is under the control of the local government. If a development project is abandoned, developers won't be able to cash in their housing vouchers. This scenario could only happen if the local government and the developers collude, or if the local government refuses to redeem the vouchers, leading to a halt in the developer's cash flow and an inability to continue construction. However, the housing voucher system effectively discourages developers from abandoning projects. Therefore, for ordinary citizens, it's important to carefully choose which developer to buy from. The safest option is to buy from state-owned enterprises rather than private ones, as it's essentially about purchasing from the most financially stable entity. In this latest iteration of the real estate exchange program version 2.0, I see the primary risk as the ability of local governments to financially sustain this approach. The critical factor is determining how much financial strength local governments possess to acquire second-hand homes. The housing voucher, in essence, is a promissory note issued by the local government, with the government's credibility standing behind it. Individuals are willing to accept housing vouchers because they trust they can use them to purchase houses. Similarly, developers are willing to accept these vouchers because they have faith that they can exchange them for cash from the local government. We can simulate the local government's housing voucher program. Initially, the local government sets a budget. For instance, they might allocate 1 billion yuan to purchase properties and issue 1 billion yuan worth of housing vouchers. This would essentially increase the local government's liabilities by 1 billion yuan on their books. Once the 1 billion yuan worth of housing vouchers are in the hands of developers, and they have successfully reduced inventory, developers can then approach the local government to redeem the vouchers for cash. At this stage, the local government has 3 choices. The first option is to exchange the vouchers for cash in full, providing developers with a substantial injection of liquidity. The second option involves offering a discounted redemption rate. For instance, out of 1 billion yuan worth of housing vouchers, developers may only be able to redeem 800 million yuan in cash. This discount, perhaps 200 million yuan, could be seen as a fair compensation to the local government for their assistance in reducing inventory. The third option is not to exchange the vouchers directly for cash, but to allow them to offset land acquisition costs. Under this arrangement, developers can continue acquiring land, but they would only need to pay 4 billion yuan for a 5 billion yuan plot, with the remaining 1 billion yuan covered by housing vouchers. For local governments, the most favorable solution is undoubtedly the third option, because if it's viable, They won't face any financial strain regardless of the number of properties they acquire or housing vouchers they issue. They can always rely on proceeds from land sales to cover expenses. However, what if developers decide to downsize and refrain from land acquisitions for a while? In such a scenario, the local government's best course of action would be the second option, offering discounted redemption rates for housing vouchers. This approach hinges on the financial strength of the local government because even with discounts, they still need to allocate significant funds. If the financial situation of the local government deteriorates over time, the discounts on housing vouchers might shrink, indicating a potential collapse in the government's credibility. In such a scenario, the Real Estate Exchange Program version 2.0 would be deemed unsuccessful. As far as I know, local governments are now very lenient when it comes to developers acquiring land. While in the past they might have imposed strict regulations, now they are more willing to negotiate on terms. It's like they've opened the floodgates to convenience. Moreover, considering that the local government financing vehicle companies LGFVs have accumulated a significant amount of land previously to support local government land finance, it seems that this version 2.0 of the Real Estate Exchange Program is primarily aimed at helping these LGFVs clear their inventory. Essentially, it's a reshuffling of assets within the local government sphere. The local government may arrange for its LGFVs to use housing vouchers to purchase second-hand homes from residents, forming affordable housing projects for external rental. These projects can either be converted into REITs, products for immediate cashing out, or used as collateral to secure specialized bank loans, allowing for partial cash out. Subsequently, in the second step, the LGFVs can sell the properties they hold directly to residents who have housing vouchers, thus reducing inventory. Then, using the housing vouchers, they can acquire more land from the local government. Once they acquire land, they can obtain bank loans and cash out a portion of the funds, continuing this cycle. In essence, the objective is to enable local platform companies to serve as financial lifelines for local governments, whether through securing bank loans or implementing affordable housing projects. As long as housing vouchers are centralized within the local LGFVs, they retain full control over redemption terms and timing. This setup doesn't impact their external credit as it remains contained within their own domain. Ultimately, it all comes from the same source. In the end, the key to sustaining this financial strategy lies in whether the cash flow of the LGFVs can manage the various loan interest payments. If there is a significant demand in the market for people wanting to upgrade their housing, selling their old homes and purchasing new ones, then the local government's plan will thrive. However, if people become more conservative and are hesitant to increase their expenses, and if there isn't a substantial demand for improving housing, then this strategy may not be viable in the long term. Moreover, if the occupancy rates of the second-hand properties purchased by local governments remain low, the project will inevitably incur losses. Therefore, an endless acquisition of second-hand property is unrealistic. Currently, major cities are merely dipping their toes in the water, acquiring properties primarily in the prime real estate districts to ensure rental security. Since there's already a version 2.0 of the Real Estate Exchange Program, could a version 3.0 be next? Let's brainstorm. In line with my idea, if local government directly offered cash instead of housing vouchers to purchase second-hand homes, I believe many people would consider selling their properties and moving into government-subsidized affordable housing. After all, current expectations for housing prices are still on the decline, and with the economy in downturn, rents are also dropping. At this point, it might be more advantageous for ordinary people to have a substantial sum of cash on hand and rent a property. Therefore, why not have the government acquire everyone's houses, enabling ordinary people to have funds for consumption, stock trading, retirement, and more? After all, the central bank is offering specific loans to the government, and the interest rates for rental housing projects are exceptionally low. This initiative has already been piloted in 8 cities with a total amount of 100 billion yuan. This is why Zhengzhou is prominently engaging in the real estate exchange program version 2.0, with the government ambitiously purchasing 5,000 second-hand houses. Since Zhengzhou is one of the 8 pilot cities, it is eligible for these loans. Hence, with the backing of specialized loans, the government could opt to directly distribute cash to residents. Should anyone desire to upgrade their housing, they would naturally sell their old property to the government and then proceed to purchase a new one, without the need for the government to issue housing vouchers to enforce such transactions. Let the market dynamics govern all transactions. For the government, now that the funding concerns are alleviated, the primary challenge lies in gradually reducing reliance on land finances. Without the crutch of government-issued housing vouchers, the destocking efforts of real estate companies could be prolonged, potentially affecting land acquisition motivation. Therefore, this envisioned 3.0 version seems best suited for developed cities with minimal dependence on land finance, such as Shenzhen and Shanghai, while its implementation in smaller 3rd or 4th tier cities may prove more daunting. Regarding China's real estate market, it's widely recognized that where there is real estate, there is the Chinese economy. Where there is no real estate, there is no Chinese economy. Thus, completely moving away from reliance on land finances isn't a viable path. Perhaps only a handful of developed coastal cities might experiment with alternatives. For many smaller towns, they face 2 likely scenarios: either local financial collapse and economic decline, or central government intervention involving significant currency devaluation to erase debts. These outcomes are likely to be polarized, with some areas becoming ghost towns abandoned by the central government, while others, due to their significance or size, compel central government intervention, like Tianjin. By only intervening to rescue a select few large cities, it could potentially mitigate the rapid devaluation of the renminbi. Moreover, with China's population steadily decreasing, many small county towns are at risk of becoming ghost towns. Therefore, refraining from intervention in such instances might be perceived as a rational decision. What's your perspective on this? Thank you for watching. Please like, leave a comment, and subscribe to my channel. Just click the subscribe button right here. I'll see you again shortly. Until then, be well.